Welcome back to Deluge. We're gonna start chapter 2. Since the automatic text is a thing, it just loaded, it went straight in chapter 2 without me consenting, but we're gonna see it now. Okay. Scenes from working mistreating though leading up to murder, but he failed to act in a meaningful way. Then last year the incident occurred. And now that the police investigation has come up with nothing, council members are beginning to openly question the mayor's efficiency. Do you realize our publication could cost him his career? Most of her words flew straight by me. I thought I remembered her eyes burned bright like meteorites on the pale Wednesday morning. Okay. We should really be getting to school. So, I go to the school and I also work at school. On our way to school, Ina would stop to lecture me on the various intricacies of the multiple government. Chip had never felt so long. Voices within the mayor-owned party are pushing him for the step down. They consider this incident telltale sign of the country's incompetence. Members of his own party who wouldn't be the counterintuitive? Well, it's complicated. About Island Reform, commonly referred to as heirs in the largest party in town. With its size common in the division of the 8 seats party currently occupies 4 held by members that represent of the agriculture sector. Okay. They generally come from the agrarian families and serve as advocates for the local farmers. The other 4 seats, however, were held back by the Cooper faction. These are members of the church, mainly descendants of the original inhabitants of the island. You can't lead the faction Rick's father. Yeah, I know. Whatever happened to the separation of the church and state? Ina pressed on, ignoring my remark. Even though they're in the same party, the tension between the Cooper faction and the agrarians. The Cooper faction has always tried to implement a strictly isolation policy for the town, letting as few outsiders as possible. The agrarians, however, rely on outside labor during harvest season and are generally more welcome towards newcomers. The current mayor of Abbotsford is an Algerian, so the Cooper faction is weaponizing this incident in order to strengthen their position within the party. Okay. Weaponizing? Ayer has always exerted undisputed influence over the town administration affairs. You can tell their power has never been constituted by an actual free press. I believe there's so much to be uncovered on this matter. Yeah, there probably is. I'd like you to... wait, I'm suddenly wide awake. I have absolutely no intention of doing that. Well, we'll see. Okay. We'll see. Apparently. We arrived at school early. I'm going to head up to the office to change into a terrible uniform. I'll see you in class. Okay. Suddenly she dove behind me as I thought she were hiding from something. She began to speak in a hushed voice. Look who's here of all people. There, go talk to her. And with these words she slid in the nearby entranceway. Oh, fuck. Hey, what a pleasant surprise. I hope you've been settling in nicely. I see you're a part of our early bird club. We practice with the swimming team on Wednesday mornings. There's a big championship coming up. Okay. She ran her fingers through her long black hair. I'm so glad you're getting involved with the school paper. Personally, I don't read it, but my father was absolutely lyrical about the cover piece you ran into the last issue. Okay. He can't stop gushing about how much the student journalism have improved over the last years. All credit goes to Ina. I just saw it and timely delivered. Well, he said your paper is assets to the town. Come on, there's time left before class starts. Let's take a walk over the school grounds. Please no. I don't wanna. So you know this place used to be an island, right? I nod. In the early 1800s it was a home to a community of about 400 fishing families. Life was tough, but they made an honest living. Periodic storms would rage to the Ala Bay. The island would protect the abbot against the water by erecting long barriers built out of wooden poles. But during the storms, the barriers suffered and the island would have relied on the nation from the mainland to restore them. This became a rap. In the 1858, a highly turbulent year where the rise with the Elizabeth flood swept over the Low Countries, leaving wake annihilation behind. Part of Abbott's fishing fleet was destroyed, most of the barrier washed away. Not much later, the government announced the full evacuation of the island that inhabits the house on the mainland. Okay. They said it would due to the increasing threat of storms and the infeasible cost of restoring the wooden barrier. Okay. However, some suspect that persistent poverty and breeding on the Abbot play an equally important role in the decision to evacuate. She smiled mischievously. I can't read sometimes. In the end of the island was left deserted? Not really. A group of 200 islanders stayed behind and Harlan, member of the small reformed congregation. The Church of Abbot had recently been ejected from the mainstream branch of Low Country Protestantism. These were troubled times. Theologically speaking, and church schism was a common occurrence. Anyway, the second congregation vowed to remain on the island. The government did nothing to stop them. For close to a century, they lived isolated lives with very little contact with the outside world, until reclamation of the mesh folder began. In the 1940s, Abbott suddenly found itself floating on the sea of fertile soil. Farmers from the mainland migrated here to cultivate the fields. But the original inhabitants of Abbotsford descended the islander who had been seduced in 1958 observing the nuclear sorrow in the rise. There was always been tension between the two groups. The farmers work hard, but they are blind to our heritage. The grave expression appeared on their face. The islander are honest people. They never cover up a crime. You don't know that, you dumb fuck. By the time we made it... No, by the time we started class already started. Okay. She turned to me. That's when I said it. Do you know what's interesting? What? After Elizabeth Flood, Abbott was never struck by a storm again. What? So the entire evacuation had been for nothing? You could say so. Okay, some of the more self-righteous members of the Congress speculate that the floods were punished by the higher power. There was no more need for them. After all, supervised element had been extracted from the community. The kingdom of heaven is like a net cast into the sea that gathers fishes every kind. When it was full, the fishermen hauled it ashore. They sat down, gathered the good fish into the vessels, but they cast the bad away. Anyway, I have to go to class now. Why am I zoomed in on your skirt? Also, I was wondering... She paused for a second, tenderly winding her hair around her finger. Would you mind going out for dinner this Saturday evening? My parents are attending a wedding and I hate to eat alone. I could take that hint of anxiety in her words. Will you join me? Okay. I'll be glad to, if I survive my pop right. That's great. I'd love to learn more about you. Okay. I was struck by the candor of her sudden proposal, so struck that I had no choice but to accept, even though I realized I was playing directly into Ina's plans. Yeah, that's the thing. And it's a date. See you next Saturday. With a nod of her head, she said goodbye. I don't want this. Hello? Ina pulled me aside the moment class ended. She seemed nervous. Okay. What? So? I shook my head in ignorance. Oh my god, you dumb fuck. What do you manage to get out of Rika? She complimented you on your journalism. Yeah, she would, wouldn't she? Just tell me what you guys discussed. Though I still had a vivid recollection of Rika crawling hair, I had to admit the details of the conversation this morning had long faded back of my mind. Yeah, me too. We talked about the town for a bit. And, I thought for a second. She said the Isle of Abbot was evacuated in the 19th century due to inbreeding. Does that make sense to you? You little dumb fuck? Sure, they were ravaged by storms at the time. Only a small community remained in the Cooper family. Well then, I don't think she told me anything of interest. Should be the judge of that. An awkward silence lingered. The newsroom was a mess. Every inch of floor was filled up with boxes, newspaper clippings, scattering clothing. Okay, so Ina, I was wondering, what? When you feel you introduced to me to other editors on the staff. She flinched. It's not a school paper. I never said it was. What I've got editors, but they mostly work from home. It's not like I could write everything myself. It appeared that I had hit a nerve and I began to regret my line of questioning. I dug through my memory for something that would cheer her up. You know what? There was something strange Rika told me this morning. What? Something about church schism before the island was evacuated. She was a little vague on the matter. As expected, Ina appeared unnaturally interested. A schism, you say, in the church of Abbott? Rika said it was the reason for some of the islanders stayed behind. Ina had begun browsing her phone with a soft murmur trickled from her lips. A church schism, seems highly unlikely, if only, There, I found something. It's called Theological Inquiries into the Congregation of the Church of Abbott. Okay, how did you find that? Is it relevant? Some more typing. I'm not sure, it could be. Inquiries were a big deal in the Reformed Church at the time. They could point towards corruption of severe theological divergencies. The thing is, the Church of Abbott and the Cooper family have always had a pivotal position of power in this town. Her eyes were glowing. Oh, any dirt on them or old news should surely cause a stir, much more than any aberrant migration pattern of insects ever will. She turned her attention back to her phone. Okay. There it is. They have a copy in the Monocle Archive of Bremsenberg, less than 20 minutes away from the train. We'll go there on Friday. On Friday? We don't have school on Friday? Oh, but this is much more important than school. Okay. And besides, we get a lot of time for mandatory club activities. Okay. Cool. I get that. As we headed downstairs, I noticed she was trembling. I didn't get to read the rest. Let's head over to my house for now. I want to run some ideas by you. Okay. I wasn't in the mood to protest. I know. She's so commandy. Nice home. Her house had a well-kept, almost sterile appearance to it. As she led me into the living room, I noticed a hint of sadness in her eyes. After prying, she told me her mother was touring at the moment. She was a famous conductor, Mina Mengelberg. She's currently serving as the musical director of the Wiener Permer Orchestra. Okay. I mentioned I had seen her name on a playbill once, when I still lived in the city. So this is my room. I hate it though. Empty house give me the creeps. That's why I'm usually at the office. Okay. She produced a large book from her bag, the same one I had seen her reading at school. I'm reading Oswald Splendor at the moment, Undergang des Abendlands. I haven't made it past the second chapter. She folded it to an open page that she marked with a slip of paper. Boundless of mass human being, flowing stream without banks upstream of bark. An easy conjures, hide away in eternal. Oh, that's just from the book. I don't want to read it. That's too much words. Downstream of you. Oh, such is the groundwork of future human history. Why are people into this kind of? She closed the book and handed it to me. Modern man yearning of infinite progress is fastest in nature, spurned by its endless aspirations. Humanity involuntarily seals its. We have left the nature state for behind. We couldn't even return if we wanted to. Okay. Being has been already irredeemable. I'm sorry I dragged you down here. What you mean? I know you're not really interested in this newspaper business. It's cool. It's just... I talk in myself if I don't have someone else to talk to, whenever I'm catching on to something great. Great? It drives me insane. I gave her a reassuring nudge. I guess you know my predicament. She smiled. You know, I have a feeling this church piece is going to be big. Bigger than anything we've done before. I don't know, I'm not bigger than the Sandford House affair. Okay. What's the Sandford House affair you keep talking about? It was out before I realized what I was doing. I didn't tell you? Oh no. Our exposure on Sandford House was the finest hour. The scoop truly put Sunday Abbott on the map. Okay. It was around this time last year when the Evening Mirror, stubbly tabloid, published a series of comparison photographs and influenced the politician. The photos were taken inside of a notorious Bremsenberg cabaret club where we were being courted by a dancing girl. Oh, a hooker. Oh. The politician in question is named Leopold Marcus of the Abbot, the precise member of the nobility. He still holds a seat in the Abbotsford City Council. Okay. Leopold hails from the old lineage of Lord of the Isle. He has a quiet reputation as a party animal, and for that reason, he usually blew out without much ado. But 4 months later, we received an anonymous package at the office. It was another set of photographs, placing Marcus Leopold at a lavish party inside Sandford House, one of the oldest mansions in Abbotsford. There were more girls present during the occasion, and the Marquis appeared to be fully inebriated. In a note, the anime source explained that the Marquis Level had been carrying classified documents with him on the night he attended Sandford House. But after the hedonist party, the source wrote, his briefcase and documents it contained were nowhere to be found. We ran an absolute bombshell for an article. Apparently the Marquis had been in the lost classified policy paper on the fateful night, and to make matters worse, he hadn't been notified the council of their disappearance. Cool. That's interesting. It became a lot harder to forgive the Marquis Decent when the political integrity of the community was at jeopardy. Okay. The Cooper faction entered a charge declaring the magnitude of conduct was unworthy of the Christian Policy Party. They had a field with the whole affair. So did Aleppo lose his seat over this? He didn't. He's an elected official. After all, and is therefore protected by the Constitution. Our disposition with Air has become precarious since the affair. I doubt he'll return after selection. Sorry, looking down on me again. I'm probably boring you. It's okay, you should be on your way home. I'm going to read some more Sprangler before bed. Okay, bye. Let me leave, please. Yeah, thank you. I don't like her. Or she's okay, I don't know. I spent most of Thursday morning after loitering around town, trying to find someone or someone to write the weekly process article on. Oh, I write those weekly? Sadly, I searched in vain. It began to dawn on me why Ian had unloaded this piece on me. Abbotsford 4 really didn't have any progress to report. Then a flash in the corner of my eye. Oh no, the hellhound! I'm not even working today! Furious, leave the man alone. As soon as Miss Boris entered the scene, the dog became dull as a lamb. Hi, Karen. Thanks for coming to my rescue again. I feel like he's warming up to you. He didn't even bite you this time. So what brings you here today? If a dog bites, it should be... Yeah. He's making me write an article. It can't be about any person or event in the town. The thing is, it's due today. You wouldn't be referring to the weekly progress, would you? That's a local favorite. Ina must have a lot of faith in you to entrust you with such an important piece of journalism. Ah, no. I could tell she was concealing an impish smile. Anyway, if you want to, you can interview me. It may help your re-election if you get some positive press out. Maybe you could write the whole thing for me? What the fuck? She burst out laughing. Why would I ask of that? Come on, let's go somewhere where we can talk. I don't want to, Karen. Okay, we're at a restaurant now. She had a long sigh. Oh, small town politics can be a headache. That piece of you guys published last week, to be fair, it caused quite a bit of commotion. Okay. She adopted a more serious demeanor. Let me state first and foremost that our party has always been proponent of the free exchange of labor. Abbotsford has some of the largest farms in the region, so come August there always has a huge demand for seasonal workers. What party are you in? Abbot Island Reform, we're currently in charge. Laborers come here from all over the Low Countries, many even from further afield. The work offers come then escape from poverty is in our greatest interest. They're treated well, outsiders. Sorry. Over the last years, a new political movement has been growing in membership. I'm not sleepy. I'm never sleepy, Luck take all they were found. Luck takes more cautious stance of labor migration, seasonal working constitution, and a severe burn of local infrastructure. I just woke up, that's why I'm tired. There was a small incident not long after the parties was founded in which a group of farm workers had been caught stealing fruit from the local stores. It was just pretty theft, but Flock really went to town with converting the incident into a large electoral windfall. Okay. Do you think people from Flock were behind the murder? No, and I don't want you writing that. It's just that the subject matter is more complicated than it seems. Huh? Air has always protected the farm workers and are turned to shifting lately. Ah. Interesting. What about the Cooper faction? The Cooper what? The Cooper faction within your party. Do they share your stance on labor migration? I'm afraid you're misinformed. Air is one party. We don't have factions. What? She begins speaking in a hushed voice. Look, I understand you guys feel involved. I'll tell you more, but you have to consider it off the record. I smiled. No problem. I have more enough material as it is. This is a very painful incident for our mayor. The farm murder occurred on property that belonged to his brother. I nodded. Okay. Now several voices are implying that the police investigation into the abuse was intentionally halted by the mayor, Vin Linden, and the chief of police. But I know the mayor. He wouldn't do such a thing. After the assault, the victim's co-workers returned to their hometowns. They weren't available to further questioning. The police closed the case because they really didn't have any more leads. And the mayor's brother, what kind of person is he? I'm not sure. She paused. Okay. He works his people hard, a little too hard at times, but he's not a sadist. He wouldn't do that to anyone. Anyway, I really need to get back to work. You working? Okay. If you guys want, you're welcome to come over to my place for coffee sometime. I can imagine he would love source inside the council. Yeah, we would. We would really. She's gonna die, I think. Like, the mayor's gonna kill her. I think. That's just my theory. On Friday, we snuck out of school during lunch break. Outside of the commuting hours, the train for Bermsville only ran sporadically. We had to rush to make it in time. We made it, apparently. Oh. There you are. I loved your article. She appeared really enjoying a broccoli? It has flaws, of course. It's just I never thought about using the weekly progress that way. Actual journalism. I just happened to bump into Karen on the street. We shot past miles and miles of farmland. Ina had begun murmuring in herself. I haven't seen any bees this year. These are the last few, but none of the summer, just crickets now. What the fuck are your obsession with bees? You know, they kept me up last night. The crickets and their maidening song like 1,000 voices, crying out in terror, as if they can sense their impending death once winter comes. If winter ever comes. I shrugged. I spoke to the archivist on the phone. He confirmed that the publication should be there. It's a part of a larger collection of church inquiries that were commissioned by the President of the Low Countries after the session of 1834. The Reformed Church has always been prone to schism. In 1834, however, there were 3 figures at once of the Confederation with the liberal tendencies to Reformed clergy at the time. Oh, allowed to read. During the subsequent decades, many more churches followed their wake, to the point where the remaining pastor felt the time had to come take action. The Reformed Church is a centrally coordinated institution. Due to the particular state of affairs, however, a pastor agrees to convey. Sorry, I just woke up. The presbyters were resolved to rout churches that appeared to stray from mainstream Protestant theology, but approximately the occluding troublesome Congress church hoped to end brother ten of insurgery once and for all. Why are you shaking? The document will be consulting a church inquiry commissioned by this very presbytery. A person to the congregation of Act Island, led by the Reverend Johann Cooper. It will be eventually lead to the expulsion from the Reformed Church is also based any from America shows the island. Okay. Is Johann Cooper? Yes, her great-great-great-grandfather, if I'm not mistaken. Interesting. Very interesting. We made our way towards the archives. The city was noisy as usual. Hello. So this is Bremersburg. I assume it's the first time you've been here. Yes. It was built shortly after the war, fully planned to act as a metropolitan hub of the newly reclaimed land. How can something that had been thought so meticulously grow into such an abomination? In the past, cities arose countryside nourished lovely by the surrounding communities. But now the giant city sucks the country dry, unsettable, and incessantly demanding and devouring fresh streams of men till it varies and dies in the midst of almost uninhabited wasteland. Okay. Bremersburg has become a dismal necropolis wrapped in the sounds of countless invisible cars, all attempting to find their way into inorganic street plan. It appears completely amorphous to me, like a welded together amalgamation of leftover parts of the other cities, lacking any different failure. You're having a crisis, lady. The monarchical archives were curated in the University of Bremersburg. We made our way through the few galleries of natural history until we reached the library. Without much just looking around, Ina went up to the archivist and asked him for the document she was looking for. He eyed her up with a humorous glance in his eyes. So you're the student that made a reservation for the theological inquirers. Sure, is there a problem? He chuckled. Oh, not at all. I was wondering many regrets for these dusty church annals. I talk like kind of that. Left briefly to dig up an old book. Here it is, isn't available for long. You have to consolidate one of our reading tables. What a douchebag. We sat down. From the moment Ina opened the heavy letter-clad book, a musty fragment poured from its yellow pages. In a hushed voice she began to read. Journal of the Reverend Thomas, back your inquiry for the Presto of the Low Countries. Saturday 9th of December, we set sail early in the morning to favorable winds and quiet waters. Aboard were the captain, Jan, and his 2 crew members, a traveling merchant, some islander, and some gentleman, Marcus, who would be serving the island as a replacement school teacher. You're excused to read silently if you like. Let me skip ahead a bit. Let it read, bro. The good south wind behind us. It took us less than a half hour to catch the first sight of the isle in the distance. When we approached Abbot, we struck harsh and impish waves, and white capes formed around us. Within a matter of minutes, the formerly peaceful sea had erupted in a fierce tempest, rocking our ship to and fro. Though as a passenger was disrupted by the sudden onset storm, our captain reassured that sudden gales were not uncommon on the Strait of Ala Bay. But as I lay cooped in the ship's stern, I prayed furiously for our safe voyage. There appeared to be no end to the tempest. As the clear view of firmament from our hiding place, I began to notice that the storm was imbued with a strange quality of sorts. For although the sea was unruly turmoil, erupting waves and eddies of a violent fervor, the sky above remained blue and completely devoid of the wind. It was as though not a gale, but submarine vortex was kicking these crashing waves. And when I gathered the courage to look overboard, I fancied sometimes that I could see the thin black river pouring through the waves, blistering whenever it broke surface, in the ever-dazzling sun. It took us the greater part of an hour to reach the harbor, and when the ship finally moored, the tempest abruptly come to a halt. In a matter of minutes, the waves disappeared, and the sea returned to the original calm as though no storm had ever laid hands upon it. Scores of islands had spilled from their houses to concrete around the pier. Oh! Immediately I could discern the tall figure of Reverend Cooper with his chalky white hair that appeared to glow against the black of his cassock, standing with outstretched arms as if to concentrate the weather-beaten ship. She read silently for a while. Thomas stayed at the manse where the Cooper family provided him with food and dry clothing. After his dire journey, he described Reverend Cooper as a dignified gentleman. And he makes special note of Johan's daughter, Henrika, a charming though secretive young woman with flowing black hair. Then he skips over to Sunday morning, when Thomas will attend his first service on the island. I attend Sunday service next morning at some solemn incarnation of 2 fishermen who were lost to sea last week. Okay. The sermon contained many mental themes, a look into both the calling of the fishers and the beast of Fethian. I already believe this to be nothing out of the ordinary to seafaring communities. It's so loud! Okay. Morning and the 2 men covered dealing with Cooper. Oh, let me skim through this part quickly. Okay. I missed something there. After what felt like a century, Ina looked up at me and began reciting. What have I come to learn in Horizon? I can only conclude that Cooper's theology in essence lacks the eschatological underpinning of shared faith, substituting the core tenets viewing historical redemption that is cyclical in nature. For Cooper, this New Testament clubs seamlessly into a book of Job, leading all the biblical history, including the synoptic Gospels and the New Covenant, to recur again and again. Based on our conversation, I clearly agree with the compliment. The fundamentally alien to the doctrine set forth in the canon of Dort and Heidelberg Catechism. I'm rather inclined to doubt Cooper's worldview is full of torrential. Ina. After lunch, I rested myself an afternoon walk in order to meditate on our conversation. As I made my way across the primitive island, looking out on the endless sea, I couldn't help but notice that I was being trailed by a dark figure. Okay. I turned around just in time to catch a glimpse of Henrika leaping behind one of the garden stones that lie scattered across the isle. I called out, asking if she would care to join me, but she let out a shrill laugh and ran away with her black hair tailing behind me. Ina pulled a concerned face. That's strange, there isn't much more to report. He skips over a few days and then recounts last meeting the two men had on Friday evening. I'm now confident to write that Bryn Cooper and have reached a mutual degree of understanding. Cooper has further clarified his theological positions to me, and I'm fully convinced that if doctrines will wholly according with the three forms of unity, in no way contradicting our shared Reformed confession. I believe Cooper is a fine man who operates a good shepherd for his consecration. Our prior misunderstanding appeared to have derived from my ignorance of local culture and customs, not form of any fundamental orthodoxy within the religious teaching of the Church of Abbot itself. In conclusion, therefore, I recommend that no impunity or expose the action is taken against the revered Cooper or his congregation. She put down the book. That's strange. Did you notice anything? I'm sorry I wasn't listening. I wasn't really. Sounds pretty tame if they got into trouble for this. Sounds pretty tame. It does, doesn't it? And a sudden change of tone at the end. I don't understand. The sources state that the Reformed Church of Abbot was ejected based on the report. How the conclusion doesn't point in that direction at all. Huh. Cause for Abbot to be cause of the breast? The trip appears to be a waste of time. Let's head back to the station. Okay. Sorry. Legorathly, Ina went to return the book. We were on our way out to exit when a figure approached us. I was taking an interest in all the bits of book back game. These things happen in a decade. It must be a history, but that's right. Why do you talk so weird? Goddamn. Anna eyed him up suspiciously. We're conducting investigation journalism into the Church of Abbot. Abbot? He went silent for a while as he tried to remember something. I guess the rebellion them is pretty boring. You wouldn't say. She pulled me by the sleeve, signaling that we should leave. I remember there was only about a story though. There should be an abbonum somewhere, some notes that were left out of the public reports. Witnesses appear to have caught Ina's attention. They're pretty rare though, I believe only 2 copies were printed. And where may I find these copies? Good question. He headed back to his desk and where he spent time browsing the catalog. One is in the private library of the Council of Reformed Churches. You could try to petition them, however. And the other? The other was sent to the Isle of Abbot in 1857. It sounded right to know why the church was being ejected from their presbytery. If it hasn't been pruned from the collection, it should be still in the town archives. Well, that's all we need to know, dear man. You could have saved us a lot of time by telling us this up front. And with these words, she was out of the door. I thanked him briefly for running after her. Thank you, archivists. Learn to talk next time. On our way back to the station, we passed a small, indistinct-looking theater. Ina nudged me. Look, this is the nightclub I told you about, the one where the Marquis was spotted. It looks like grimy as ever. Okay, that was it. We were just in time to catch the 6 o'clock train. Though our return to voyage could hear Ina mumbling to herself in excitement. Okay, she's excited. Journalists. Goddamn. Saturday came. I set to work, for everything went notably smoother than last time, and I was struck by the sad realization that I must become an experienced paper boy. Paper boy. After my work ended, I returned home for a shower and change of clothes, after which I briefly spoke with my dad. I brought up how he hadn't been home much lately, but he told me not to exaggerate. It was only actually who was all the wait time. Yeah. Though I doubted that was the case, I sensed there was little point in arguing. Maybe. When I arrived at Umfigia, one of the few licensed establishments in town, Rika sat waiting on me. Are you hungry? We should order some side dishes. The fresh anchovies here are excellent. I nodded in agreement. As I settled in, Rika sat staring at me, beaming in a playful anticipation. She had a restrained cough. So I heard you've been hanging out with May again. Your spies are doing excellent work, she laughed. Oh no, it's not like that this time. May told me herself. In fact, she hasn't stopped talking about you since last Tuesday. Okay. You're a misadventure among the megaliths and such. Gently, she had begun brushing her fingers through her onyx hair, and the subtle repetitive motions executed a soothing calm as she was comforting her frightened creature. And you know, I think I may not be so bad. It's good for her to have someone to converse with on her level. What do you mean with on her level? You think I'm dumb? She giggled. Oh, don't take it the wrong way. It's just that May has always been a bit of a loner. Because she never attended regular school, she hasn't had the chance to make friends among her peers. But for you, as an outsider, it should be the same. Just let me know if she becomes a burden, okay? I nodded, not really sure if the point had already been reached. But tell me, how did your workday go? No big headline this week? I tried to be faint offense of her statements. How dare you say such a thing? I didn't read your exclusive report on the migration patterns of the hairy hawker dragonfly. I will. She turned her attention towards the laminated menu card, on the bottom lip pouting in distress. The restaurant wasn't anything fancy, Italian in name only. I don't think the headline will cause any trouble this time. She looked up at me. And that's good, we don't want trouble down here. That girl Ina, she really attracts trouble, you know. I feel like she seeks it out sometimes. We have a gentleman in the town who caused embarrassment. Last year, Ina, of course, wrote all about it. She flapped her hand rapidly as if a shaking of disgust substance. To think she would consider himself novelty. Novelty? You wouldn't be referring to Marcus, would you? Oh, my Ina has been mentoring you very well. The current lord of the isle is quite the character indeed, though I wouldn't say he deserved his title. From the late Middle Ages onward, his clan ruled the island. They own most of the land over here, but only to collect taxes. They lived on the mainland on a large estate near The Hague. And to finance their lavish lifestyle among the nation's elite, they leech into the poor fishers and clay grab at Abbot. The lord wouldn't contribute anything of substance. She smiled. You can imagine how distraught they were when the decision fell to evacuate in 1857. With the fishers leaving Abbot, there was no source of income left. The waitress came to bring us our side dishes. To stay out of poverty, the clan sold about half the island Church of Abbot, whose members would remain on the isle. Their glory days were indisputably over. They had to live frugally in their castle, which began to crumble from neglect. Oh, this changes though, after reclamation. What happened? In 1947, the marbles fell dry. Marcus of Abbot was one of the first to return to Abbotsford, to lay claim on the part of the island that his family were still legally entitled to. Lois played an important role in developing Abbotsford. In the 20th century, it was an interest for the housing prices rose, so this family could collect rent again. He turned Abbotsford into a major agrarian hub, inviting farmers from all over the Low Countries to move here. He had a little boy with him at the time, young Leopold, a spoiled brat even at that age. She paused for a second and moved the plate of fish in my direction. I can imagine the native population wasn't too happy with that. They weren't. Initially there was a lot of strife. As more and more farmers arrived, the newcomers began to outnumber the original islanders. Now politically, Ayr was ultimately in complete control of the town council. The islanders feared that the farmers from their point of view movement would be able to seize power. So how did that work out? Well, it wasn't all bad. Since the evacuation, the church was the second largest landowner in the isle. The inflated housing prices were good for us too. In the end, Marcus Lois played an important role in reconciling the two sides. The agreeers welcomed with an air as long as they agreed not to occupy more than half the seats in the council. This meant the church would retain control on the state affairs of the island, while the newcomers still felt represented. So is that how the two factions within the town council arose? Ayr doesn't have faction. All politicians operate in the best interest of the community. She winked. Except for Leopold, of course. He's blemish on our town. I wouldn't mind you writing another article on him. Let me know if you need more information. I was beginning to realize that her loose tongue didn't necessarily stem from the wine or the amicable atmosphere. It was as though the information she was disclosing was being carefully measured out. We sat in silence eating fish, while it gradually grew darker outside. Then she gently wiped her mouth on a napkin and looked up at me. Is there anything else you would like to know? Is there anything else you would like to tell me? Rika? Oh, plenty. Just like to stay one step ahead of Ina's games. While I was surprised at her sudden change in manner, I managed to remain collected. It's getting very late. I have to be in church tomorrow by 9 a.m. She smiled in a faraway smile. Can you imagine what it's like? A reclamation like that? Can you imagine how it would feel? You've been living your whole life on a secluded island, and then suddenly you witness the water drops around you, until all that's left is an endless wasteland of stinking marshes. No, I can imagine that. The people here have spent lives in the midst of majestic sea, but in a period of less than a year, all of that was reduced to a swamp, strewn with decaying fish corpses. I stared at her in silence. There have always been higher powers to decide over the people of Abbott, be it the lords, the national government, the abrasive of churches. But through the inhumane treatment of the islander, they have sown vines from the grapes of wrath would grow. It left them feeling futile and angry, helpless against the forces that be. She sighed. For some reason it strengthened the faith. They realized they had to rely on far higher power to deliver from the tyrannical pharaohs. The native inhabitants of Abbott truly felt like God's people. Without asking, she impaled the last of the fish in her fork, bringing it to her mouth in one motion. After swallowing, she resumed her monologue. During the reclamation, as the workmen built the long embankment that would be the water route, instantly strange reports would emerge. I looked up from my drink. The men would experience an imprudent storm, a sudden succession of roaring eddies that inhibited work for as long as they persisted. The thing was, these storms were highly localized. They would even occur on the most tranquil of days, when there wasn't a gust of wind in the air. I think they're ascribed to the phenomenon to ocean currents sent by wayward by the outflow of the great rivers. However, that doesn't sound like at all like these workmen described. They spoke about the raging tempest, the Jewish wave. She took out a person, placed a 50 on the table. Anyway, it was a great time, Abe. I'd love to do this again. I thanked her and told her I felt the same way, and then I reached for my wallet for pay for my share of the meal. Save your hard-earned money, my father said. He covered the tab. I grumbled appreciatively. No, pay! Don't be a bitch! Don't be a bitch of a man. Oh my god. I was walking down a bit of a bell, walking by the second time I blessed for the noon service. Why are the bells so loud? For a brief moment, my heart went out of Rika's Cooper, who was likely expected to be present and presentable for all today's services, until I dozed off yet again, to be awoken consciously this time by a mysterious ticking against my bedroom window. Ticking? When I made it out of bed to open the curtains, I could see May standing outside, dressed headed to toe in immaculate black. What the fuck? Hello, May. She told me. Rika finally told me. I poked and persevered through the service until she finally agreed to give me your address. I think she was embarrassed in front of the congregation. You're a stalker? You sure like to sleep late. I thought throwing stones at each of the windows. Isn't your father home? Go away. I grumpily replied, still half asleep. Come on, it's Sunday afternoon. Let's go on an adventure. Oh no. Have you had lunch yet? Don't worry, I took some peppermints from the church. Can you go away? I want to sleep. Okay, drink. My grody stated a tale made through the deserted streets. From a determined gait, I could tell she was leading me somewhere. It wasn't long before left our gerb suburban estate behind a patch of brushwood that bordered the village. Oh no, she's gonna kill me. She stopped for a second to hand me some mints. They stood out chalky white against her jet black dress. So what's with the depressing outfit? You had a funeral this morning? Oh no, we're always dressed in black for church. There had been a funeral, they make her wear some veil. Giggling, she placed the mint in her mouth and took off again. Okay, that's normal. On the other side of the trees lay a rolling meadow. It wasn't far beyond here that the landscape made a sudden steep drop in the endless stretches of farmland formed by the remnants of the former seabed. Hurry up! I could barely make out the golden hair in the blinding autumn sun. It wasn't much later that they reached what appeared to be the destination of our journey. She's gonna fucking kill me! You led me to a pile of stones again? It's a cave! No, just stones. A dolmen. Can you tell by the way they're stacked? What? Though smaller than megaliths you showed me last week, the stones had indeed been arranged to form a tiny abode. Excitedly she pulled my hand. No! Look, S and S! She was pointing at the crude S-shaped parting into the surface off from the rocks. It does look like an S. I don't know. Doesn't it? I don't know. Frigging may have brought me here as a personal translator, I walked over to the obligatory sign that stood a few rods from the Arculus site. Oh yeah, she can't breathe. Dolmen M4, commonly referred as the Dolmens, likely built as megalithic dome by members of the Swiftbank culture, dated around 300-400 A skimmed over some further text, blah 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 blah. A salient feature of M is S-shaped, engraved on its southern side. Though resembling the letter S, it's carved long before the emergence of the Proto-Sinaitic alphabet. This rune is likely the housemark, a type of symbol that would use to identify clans during the late Neolithic. Though the discovery of inside tomes is not uncommon, the prominent placement of this S-shaped rune is dominant out of exteriors unique in the Low Countries. Sorry I'm reading so dumb, I'm not awake yet. May stood there sinking down in disappointment. So the S is not an S? I read on. Shut up, bitch. These stones stood quite close to the shore when this was still an island. Do you know that Abbotsford used to be an island? No. She was looking at me all glassy-eyed. Oh. You didn't know? What does the people teach you? No. Not an island. Abbott was connected to the mainland once. Her voice was no more than a whisper. Huh? Oh! What the fuck? She had drifted off with a faint smile lingering on her face. What the fuck is wrong with you? We were playing on here the beach, Sigurd and I. No, please, do not do this. May I had 4 younger brothers, but 3 of them died in infancy. Dude, chill. Sigurd survived though. Sigurd was the strongest. Can you chill the fuck out? We dragged a fallen tree into the water. The day they pretended was a sea monster. Stop. I already knew he would be leaving soon. Can you please go back to normal? I remember his hair, how it shone burned this summer day. Go back to normal you, please. Her expression darkened. No, please. Sigurd, I prayed so long for your return. I would pray here by the stones. Can you chill? I prayed to the common gods to dwell through the immeasurable depths of the earth. Please come back. Sigurd was sent alive to live in the Alba tribes. It was a ritual we'd perform whenever the eldest son turned 7. It was meant to strengthen the religion, but bonds to prevent to prevent madness. You are mad. You're crying too. Sigurd, I prayed so many nights. Please stop this. After that, May remained silent for a very long time, was until the sun began to set. The color in her eyes returned. During that moment, she looked vulnerable, helpless, as though she couldn't begin to fathom the increase of that episode, the mysterious absence that had come over her. What the fuck is that? I helped her to her feet, supporting her. We slowly, wordlessly commenced our journey home. Not looking to run into anyone in town, we took a long ride back around the perimeter of the former island. She is fucking insane. After a while, I became aware of May's gentle humming in my ear, and by the time we had made it to her parents' farm, she appeared to have returned to good spirits. Okay. Thank you for bringing me home, Abe. I had a great time at the shore. Though I was caught off guard at the time, I was happy to see she regained her cheer. Yeah, I was not ready for that. Do you want to come to the lake with me someday? The water should still be warm, like summer. She appeared almost drunk with fatigue. Will you come with me? The lake is so big, like an ocean almost. I don't know about this. Will you come with me? Oh no. It's really time for you to go to bed. I love to. Oh my god. Okay, here's my theory for now. Obviously there's some corruption here with the church and everything and the different factions, but I think Rika is the daughter of the priest, right? And I think the priest is more corrupt than she thinks. I think she's being taken kind of a fool. I think Ina is just a crazy journalist who wants to uncover all the secrets. But I think this girl, I don't remember her name. What was her name? The one I'm speaking with right now. Her. I don't remember her name, but I think she's a victim to something who has happened because she's really weird. And she has like these kind of panic attacks. So I think she is the key to uncovering the secrets behind the pastor. So I'll go with her. Thank you, Sigurd. Shift that baby goodbye, head back to town. Did you just call me Sigurd? She called me Sigurd. Police sirens well in the distance as I drew closer to Abbotsford. What? I followed them into the main street where I was nearly knocked down by a small dark figure. What? There you are. Finally, release as many reporters at the scene as possible. Scene? Didn't you read my message? There'd been an attack on Karen Voorhees. Nice, perfect, perfect. Part 3, Tempest. Oh my god. Okay. I got it. Okay. Oh, I suddenly really enjoy this. Like I said, the reporters, we're just the team that's trying to uncover the secrets. But Karen got attacked? Is she dead? I would love to know, but I'm gonna have to wait for the next episode. Like, we'll do one chapter, one episode. So yeah, that was Deluge. I can't wait to see how this wraps up because is that who's that? Is that the one on the main menu here? That's the girl, the blonde one. I don't remember her fucking name. She called me Sigurd, by the way. She said something Sigurd to me. So clearly she's delusional in some way. And now she's been attacked. Karen's been attacked. That's probably because she leaked information to me. And she was an open source that fed the journalist. It's of course some corruption here that's trying to stop this. And I can kind of see where the story is going. But yeah, I love this. I'll get to it in the next episode. And hope I see you then. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Let's see how this wraps up. I don't know how many chapters there are, but just probably some more. So yeah. See you in the next one. Bye bye.